Hello everyone. As you all know, we are having a series of presentation come lectures on the topic which is optical fiber communication. In the last chapter, we had seen about the history of these optical fibers, which had the different types of communication mediums which were used before optical fiber communication was emerged. Also, we saw the basic block diagram of optical communication link, and also we had an eye on how the fiber looks like, the core, the cladding, and the outer buffering jackets. So in this chapter we are going to see about the ray theory transmission, which will include topics like total internal reflection, the Snell's law we are going to study, also about the critical angle and acceptance angle. We will be also deriving some equations for numerical aperture, and we are also going to learn different types of rays through optical fibers, which includes meridional rays, skew rays, axial rays, and with this we will be concluding our presentation. So let us start. So let us first know how the light source travels inside the optical fiber. Optical fiber is basically a solid glass rod, and the diameter of the rod is so small that it looks like a fiber. Optical fiber is a dielectric waveguide. That means the light travels like an electromagnetic wave inside the waveguide, which we had seen in the last chapter. The dielectric waveguide is different from metallic waveguide, which is used at microwave and millimeter wave frequencies. In a metallic waveguide, there is a complete shielding of electromagnetic radiation, but in an optical fiber, the electromagnetic radiation is not just confined inside the fiber, but it also extends outside the fiber. And the light gets guided inside the structure through the basic phenomenon of total internal reflection. So now let us first know what this total internal reflection is. So before moving into total internal reflection, here are some points that are very important before we move ahead. Kindly have a look at them. So now moving on to the total internal reflection part. As can be seen from figure A, it is observed that the ray that is approaching the interface is propagating in a dielectric medium of refractive index n1, which is at an angle phi 1 to the normal at the surface of the interface. If the dielectric on the other side of the interface has refractive index n2, which is less than n1, then the refraction is such that the ray path in this lower refractive index medium is at an angle phi 2 to the normal, where phi 2 is greater than phi 1. The angles of indices phi 1 and refraction phi 2 are related to each other and to the refractive indices of the dielectrics by a law which is called as Snell's law. It is given as n1 into sine of phi 1 is equal to n2 into sine of phi 2, or you can simply say sine of phi 1 upon sine of phi 2 is equal to n2 by n1. It can be also observed in the figure A that a small amount of light is reflected back into the originating dielectric medium. It is called as partial internal reflection. As n1 is greater than n2, the angle of refraction is always greater than angle of incidence. Thus, when the angle of refraction is 90 degrees and the refracted ray emerges parallel to the interface between the two dielectrics, the angle of incidence must be less than 90 degrees. This is the limiting case of the refraction, and the angle of incidence is now known as the critical angle, which is denoted by phi c as shown in figure B. The value of critical angle is given by sine of phi c is equal to n2 by n1. At angles of incidence greater than the critical angle, the light is reflected back into the originating dielectric medium, and this phenomenon is called as total internal reflection. It is having a high efficiency, which is around 99.9%. That means if you transmit a ray of light through this fiber, then around 99.9% of the light will be traveling without any loss. Hence it is observed in figure C that the total internal reflection occurs at the interface between the two dielectrics of differing refractive indices when light is incident on dielectric of lower index from the dielectric of higher index, and the angle of incidence of the ray exceeds the critical value. This is the mechanism by which light at sufficiently shallow angle, which is less than 90 degrees minus phi c, may be considered to propagate down an optical fiber with low loss. So this was about how a light travels into the fiber optic cable. From the given figure, you all can make out that the ray of light travels inside the optical fiber through a series of total internal reflections, and here the ray has an angle of incidence phi at the interface which is greater than the critical angle and is reflected at the same angle to the normal. Now that we have seen how the light travels inside an optical fiber, now we need to know the second most important thing is that how to launch this ray at the core air interface at the transmitting end of this fiber cable. So as you can see in this image, we have a ray A which is at the critical angle phi c with the fiber at the core cladding interface. It is also observed that this ray enters the fiber core at an angle theta A to the fiber axis, and it is refracted at the air and core interface before transmission to the core cladding interface at the critical angle. Hence, any rays which are incident to the fiber core at an angle greater than theta A will be transmitted into the core cladding interface at an angle less than theta c and will not be total internally reflected. This situation is also illustrated with the help of incident ray B, which is at an angle greater than theta A, and it is reflected into the cladding and eventually lost by the radiation. Thus, if you want the rays to transmit by total internal reflection within the fiber core, they must be incident on the fiber core with an acceptance cone defined by the conical half angle theta A. Hence, theta A is the maximum angle to the axis at which the light may enter in the fiber in order to be propagated, and is often referred to as the acceptance angle for that fiber. This acceptance angle is also called as total acceptance angle, maximum or total acceptance angle. So if the fiber has a regular cross section, that means the core cladding interface are parallel and there are no discontinuities, then an incident meridional ray at a greater than critical angle will continue to be reflected and will be transmitted through the fiber. From symmetry considerations, it may be noted that the output angle to the axis will be equal to the input angle for that ray, assuming that the ray emerges into the medium of the same refractive index from which it was input. You can go through this explanation for a better understanding of acceptance angle as well. Now rotating this acceptance angle around the fiber axis will give us a shape of a cone, that is called as acceptance cone. The rays within that cone only will pass through this fiber by the process called as total internal reflection. Now, let us obtain a relationship between the acceptance angle and the refractive indices of the three media involved, that is the core, the cladding and the air. This leads to the definition of a more generally used term in this fiber optics, that is the numerical aperture of the fiber. It must be noted that in this we are going to use the meridional rays, that is the rays which pass through the axis of the fiber. As you can see in this image, a ray of light is incident on the fiber core at an angle of θ1 to the fiber axis, which is less than the acceptance angle for the fiber, that is the θa. The rays enter the fiber from the medium of air with refractive index n0, and the fiber core has a refractive index of n1, which is slightly greater than the cladding refractive index n2. Now let us move ahead for the derivation of this numerical aperture. Assume that the entrance face at the fiber core is normal to the axis. Now considering the refraction at the air core interface and using Snell's law, we get n0 into sine of θ1 is equal to n1 into sine of θ2. Now, considering the right angle triangle ABC as indicated in the figure in the previous slide, we have phi is equal to pi by 2 minus θ2, where phi is greater than the critical angle at the core cladding interface. Hence, the equation 1 becomes n0 into sine of θ1 is equal to n1 into cos of phi. Now, using the trigonometric relationship, that is sine square phi plus cos square phi is equal to 1, the equation 3 will now may be written as n0 into sine of θ1 is equal to n1 into 1 minus sine square phi the whole raised to half. Now, assuming the limiting case for total internal reflection, phi becomes equal to the critical angle of the core cladding interface, and it is given by sine of phi c is equal to n2 by n1. Using this equation and also assuming in this limiting case that the θ1 now becomes the acceptance angle for the fiber, that is θa, and substituting these two assumptions in the previous equation, that is the equation 4, we get n0 into sine of θa is equal to n1 square minus n2 square the whole raised to half. So the above fifth equation gives us the basis for the definition of an important optical fiber parameter, that is the numerical aperture, which is defined as numerical aperture is equal to n0 sine of θa, which is equal to n1 square minus n2 square the whole raised to half. Now, since this numerical aperture is often used with the fiber in air where n0 is unity, it is simply equal to sine of θa. That means numerical aperture is equal to sine of θa because we consider n0 as 1. It should be also noted that the incident meridional rays over the range from 0 till θa only will be propagated within the fiber. Numerical aperture may also be given in terms of relative refractive index difference, that is delta, between the core and the cladding, which is defined as delta is equal to n1 square minus n2 square the whole divided by 2 into n1 square, which is almost equal to n1 minus n2 by n1. Now combining this equation, that is the equation number 7, and the previous equation, that is the equation number 6, we finally get the required equation for numerical aperture, that is numerical aperture is equal to n1 into 2 delta the whole raised to half. So this is the final required numerical aperture equation in terms of delta. Kindly go through this derivation from the textbook. So here are some numericals based on numerical aperture, the critical angle and the Snell's law. Now let us see the different types of rays that pass through the optical fiber. So the first type is the meridional rays. Kindly note that in all the previous slides that we have seen so far, we have considered the rays as meridional rays. So meridional rays are those rays which always pass through the axis of the fiber. It gives a high optical intensity at the center of the core. These rays, they propagate in 2D plane and they always follow a zigzag path, as you all can see in this image. If you see from the front end of the fiber, then you will be able to see only a straight line as has been displayed in the second image. The next type of rays is the axial rays. They always travel along the axis of the fiber and stays all the time at the axis of the fiber itself, as you all can see in this image. So the next category of ray exists which transmits without passing through the axis of the fiber. They follow a helical path through the fiber as it is shown in this figure, and they are called skew rays. It can be observed from this figure given that the helical path traced through this fiber gives a change in direction of 2 gamma at each reflection, where gamma is the angle between the projection of the ray in 2 dimensions and the radius of the fiber core at the point of reflection. Hence, unlike the meridional rays, the point of emergence of skew rays from the fiber in air will depend upon the number of reflections they undergo rather than the input conditions to the fiber. When the light input to the fiber is non-uniform, skew rays will therefore tend to have smoothing effect on the distribution of the light as it is transmitted, giving more uniform output. The amount of smoothing is dependent on the number of reflections encountered by the skew rays. So the next thing, that is the numerical aperture of the skew rays. In this slide I have given the derivation. It is almost similar to the numerical aperture that we have derived in the previous slides for the meridional rays. Kindly note the end formula for numerical aperture for skew rays. That is very important with respect to the problems that you might get. Here is a problem based on numerical aperture of the skew rays. Kindly go through it. So these are some of the questions from semester point of view. Kindly go through each question and see that you all can write the answers. Thank you for watching this video. The next chapter will be fiber classification.